episode number 14, where in this episode we'll be talking to my co-host, or what used to be my co-host, bringing him back on the show, right? Mr.
Yes,
Julian
yes.
Morales. Episode 14. My name is Gordon Watt. I'll be your host for the Real Talk, Real Stories, Real Change, and Real Topics. We're gonna put on this trailer. You ain't gonna want to miss this because I've been doing with this exact thing. That's why we named it "How to Deal with a Youth That Is Addicted." What every parent or person holding on to second chances with communication and self-preservation means to them. We're gonna run this trailer, and we'll be good to go.
Nice.
Welcome back to our Saturday edition of Real Talk, Real Stories. I have a special guest today, Mr. Julian Morales. That's here with Mr. Julian Morales coming in right here. Mr. Julian Morales, welcome back to the show. He used to be my
Thank you.
co-host, but as time goes along, things change. Everything changed because the situation we're in with COVID and everything else. But I just wanted to say, I just want to welcome back. We rekindled our relationship.
Yes.
Not rekindled. We haven't lost our relationship, but it just goes to show that we can always come back better, stronger, and everything else. But today's episode it's going to be an episode number 14. Whether you're going to be listening on the podcast or you're watching this live, we encourage a lot of people. And who is Mr. Julian Morales? Mr. Julian Morales is I got a bunch of notes right over here. Julius is an expert in youth and addiction, whose accomplishments include CEO, Executive Director of Real Talk Program El Paso, right?
Yes.
Most of his time in management variable. And if you want to know some of the things, you can watch the replays. He's also legally blind, and he owes everything about his sight to the Lord up above.
Amen.
He's a former Latin king, has turned his life over to the Lord, and has been changing lives ever since that he's been moving forward and just changing the community of El Paso, Texas. Been a part of our organization for about 2 years now, and even branched off did his own things, and he's helping communities along his state with his past experiences and things that might be able to change the way we view things. But he's been going through some personal endeavors just like I have, and that's why we named it "How to Deal with a Youth That Is Addicted." What every parent or person holding on to second chances needs to know. All right, welcome back, Mr. Julian Morales. You got the helm. Let me take these things off the screen and give us a little bit about your story for the new viewers that don't really know us.
Gordon, good morning. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for having me back on, Gordon. Like Gordon said, I am the CEO and Executive Director of Real Talk here in El Paso. Before that, I was a construction manager. And before that, I was a CEO of a drug empire from Mexico all the way up to Kansas City, Chicago, you name it, I was there. Mm-hmm. I was addicted to meth for a long time, cocaine, marijuana, never really drank. My other addiction was kicking doors in and taking people's things. You get to a point where the drugs and the sex just isn't fulfilling anymore. Right. And you need to find more excitement. Some people skydive, and people like myself, we can't afford to go take a skydiving trip. We like to kick doors in and get some excitement, right? So that's the kind of background that I come from. Like Gordon said, I did give my life to the Lord 2 years ago, and life has changed ever since. The motives of my heart have changed. My wants, my desires, and most importantly, I'm able to love now and give back to the community as you've been doing, Gordon, and following your footsteps and everybody's footsteps down there in Las Vegas. And so we brought Real Talk to El Paso, and here we are.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just been a pleasure to watch you grow also as an organization, as a person. But today's topic is really, really, really close to your heart and my heart, because I'm going through the same things with this situation with my nieces.
Yes.
But you had a similar situation, and this is why you took a little bit of leave of absence. Explain to the viewers or the people listening what's been going on for since that situation without me bringing it all out to you.
So, I took like a month hiatus from Real Talk, Real Topics, and then from Real Talk, Real Stories, Real Change. I had some real stuff happen in my life. So I have a son who's 15, and he has an older brother. And older brother reached out, and well, my wife had a dream that he was suicidal, so we reached out, and it turns out that he was. So he said he wanted to come to El Paso and give it a try. Part of the stipulation was that he would have to go to a rehab first because he is addicted to meth and marijuana and cigarettes and drinking, and he just turned 17. So we sent him to the rehab, pulled a lot of strings. God allowed it to happen, and we got him in. And 2 weeks in, he decides that he's ready to come home, and I told him he can come out. I'm not going to force him to do anything that he's not ready to do, but that he wasn't going to be able to live with me. I wasn't going to let him in the house until he completed the program. I have my wife and I have my son to protect. So we picked him up. We picked him up on a Thursday, and then on a Friday, before we were about to send him back home, he decided to try to burn the house down.
What?
Yeah, so the whole stove was on fire. My son smelt it, caught it. So we ended up taking him back to California, but it was a growing experience. The weeks that he was here, I got to learn a lot. First and foremost, to appreciate my son, the one that I have here custody of. I didn't realize how easy I have it with him. As much as I complain, as much as I don't like some of his ways, I'm very appreciative of the young man he's become, because I haven't felt with him what I had to feel with this young man. Being scared to go to sleep, being worried to leave the house, not knowing what he was going to do. And with my son, I don't have those worries. And it made me reflect and look back and just really appreciate him and the steps that he's taken to change. The second lesson, and it went a little deeper because I called my brother and my sister and a few people that helped me along the way. See, when I was 9 years old, my sister got cancer, and my mom had to be with my sister 24/7. So I was kind of abandoned, not abandoned in the way you think, but ultimately it's abandonment. I was alone.
Right.
And my brother and sister and their spouses tried taking me in, and all I did was steal from them and cause problems at school.
Right.
And so when I went through this with a child that has no blood relation to me, except that he's related to my son, it was hard for me to want to give him another chance. So it made me appreciate the many chances my brother and sister and others took on me while I was growing up, doing the same things this guy was doing. And so I had to call a lot of people and just apologize. And it made me realize that these people didn't give up on me when I was young. I was giving up on myself.
Oh, right.
I was making the choices to not accept the help, to not want the love, to not want to change, to not take the correction. And through this experience, the Bible says that through every experience, every situation, get the most out of it and learn the lesson from it. And these are the lessons that I've learned is one, it's humbled me to realize my son isn't as bad as I imagined him to be. I appreciate him more. And two, that my family put up with a lot with me growing up, and I needed to go back and apologize and be thankful for them not giving up on me as easily as I gave up on this young man.
Right. It just goes to show that, a lot of the times the people that love you the most is the ones that giving you so much chances to change, to communicate, to have a little bit of self-preservation in a situation that as a young adult, or say a youth, the naivety, the kind of like overwhelms you because you want to be your own person, you want to be your own thing, but at the same time, you know, going through that with your son, I'm doing the exact same thing with my two nieces, right?
Yes.
And one of the main things that I, from my past experiences, from having these second, third, fourth chances, is being able to give my wisdom, my knowledge, the things that would never even be a part of my life if I didn't go through it and survived it. let me
Yes.
ask let me ask you this. What would be, a lot of people's going to be watching this in replay, listening to this on the podcast. What is the most important first step in dealing with a child or youth or somebody going in that direction through addiction that you see from your experiences?
So my firsthand experience, because this isn't the first time that I've tried to intervene in someone's
Mm-hmm.
life, I guess you would say, right?
Right.
Um, and what's worked for me, and even though my stepson left, um, the purpose was still served. God planted his seed, but
Okay.
the initial is always addressing with real, with truth, with speaking what is there and getting to the root of the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, with my stepson, I did point out a lot of things to him before he left, and I did speak to him in truth, out of love, with nothing but the truth. And I told him, you're gonna hear some things that you're not gonna like, and they're gonna sound very ugly to you,
Right.
but it's the truth. And until you look in the mirror and see the ugliness
Mhm.
inside of you, you're never gonna know what to change until you know what's ugly about you inside, right?
Right.
And so what I did was I did point out a lot of things that I saw right out the bat. His selfishness.
Okay.
You call, you want help, we move the world for you. You come down, and then you want to go home now, and you're done. And I pointed that out to him. I said, look, that's very selfish. You don't know the things that happen backstage for you to come down here. While you were in the rehab, my wife and I were looking for another home so that when you got out, all of these things, I told him, I point them out not to throw them in your face, but I
Mm.
point them out so you see the bridge that you just burned.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and I told him, here's a lesson. Here's a hard lesson you're going to learn with me. Is this bridge is burned. No
Right.
one taught me those lessons growing up.
Okay.
I would do people wrong, and I would do this and that, and they were always there to pick me up and be a crutch for me, right?
Mhm.
So I told them, this is lesson one. You're going to learn what a burned bridge looks like. You can never cross this bridge again. So part of addressing the issue is getting to the truth of the matter, pointing out these things that we have been able to point out in ourselves and make a change, through RDAP. And I don't know if you took the RDAP program,
Right.
the 500-hour residential drug abuse treatment in prison. And all of these things do work. Looking in the mirror, calling those things out for what they are, not sugarcoating them, accepting truth for truth, as ugly as it is, and then changing that, right?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
like I tell people, if you don't like something I'm saying and it fits you, take that shoe off. Go buy
Right.
another pair of shoes. You don't have to wear those pair of shoes. Just because they fit today, don't mean they're for you. You can always change them.
Right. 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 Yeah, I'm going through that with my mom is probably going to be watching this in Hawaii later on because I'm going through that exact same thing with my two nieces.
How
Right.
old are they?
I want to say they're teenagers now, right? In fact, one is older already. But I gave them the hard set truth about exactly what you just said with living with my mom, living with my brother down there. My sister-in-law is trying to help them out, but I give them the hard code truth because they used to pick up my phone. I never met them until I came back out, and they grew up with me just listening to me on the phone, so they have a
Yeah.
certain respect for me. But I showed them. I actually told them, you know, you don't want to burn this bridge, but I can give you the cold hard truth. And actually, the teenager right now is actually doing things so that she don't want to burn the bridge. So be able to have grandma in her life, be able to have me in her life. She's actually applying for a youth 6-month camp right now. That's
Nice.
like almost like a boot camp, And it's something that, I give them the higher truth. You don't want to end up like me. You don't want to end up like us. Like, for you, Julian, Farmer Latin King did the dirties. Mom was on drugs. Used to sell your mom drugs. So the pitfalls of everything that. So let me ask you this: is that type of hardcore communication in your eyes, knowing what you know now, right? Holding on to your second chance, holding on to your second son, your wife, your new houses. How does it relate to our viewers, and how can they change that in a way that can benefit them?
Man, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough
Right.
to try to change anyone, right? It needs to
Right.
come. It needs to come from within.
Yeah.
The one advice that I can give that I never got, and that I believe works to this day, is never giving up on someone, and
Right.
remaining consistent in their life. Now, when I say never giving up, doesn't mean don't give them that $40 when they call begging. It
Right.
doesn't mean not giving up that way. It means having the phone open, having your door open for whenever they're ready to
Mm-hmm.
change, right? Because if you're not ready, it's like my stepson. He wasn't ready for it. He
Yes.
wasn't ready for it. And
Yes.
and unless you're ready, you're not going to change. But if no one's there when you're ready and you knock on the door and you're asking for help, then you're really in a bad situation. So
Right.
parents, if you're out there struggling, if you have nieces, nephews, kids, and they're going through this and you're at wit's end and you've already, I'm just not gonna answer their phone call, I'm just gonna give up, forget about them. And to me, they're dead. Don't do that. Answer that phone, answer that
Mm.
phone, answer that knock on the door, because you never know when it's that 1 second when they're just ready to give up and change. And we need to be there for those times when their heart's open and they're ready. Is to be there and correct that.
Right. 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 It's so interesting to think that, you know what I mean. A lot of the times, let me ask you a straight out question. How many, since now that you're a changed man and everything else, right? This is going to be something kind of personal. How many bridges you think you burned that you would have to make amends with it?
Um, so I did a lot when I first came to God, and I truly
Nice.
repented and forgave a lot of people. First and foremost, forgave myself, and then I asked for forgiveness to a lot of people. And these were bridges that I burned and torched, and then took the wood and picked my teeth with. And guess what? These people opened their hearts back to me,
Give
and
me
they
a
said,
story. Give us a perfect story of one that sticks out to you about this exact topic.
"All right, so my brother and I, since I've gotten out of prison, he's been my number one cheerleader, but he's also been my hardest critic, and
Oh,
he's been the one to hold me accountable.
nice.
Just a couple months ago, we did an episode, and it was my 10-year anniversary of being out, and
Okay.
instead of him being happy, he said, "You're still 3 years short from how long you were inside." Said 10 years. 10 years
Oh
doesn't impress me, but it's a
no,
bridge.
yeah, yeah.
It's a bridge that we're building, right? With
Right,
with
right.
concrete, with pillars, with anchor bolts, and that bridge is getting repaired slowly. And it's been 10 years, Gordon. And believe me, every year I find something new to ask for forgiveness about. Every time he comes into town, he lives in Dallas, I live in El Paso. Every time we see each other, I find an opportunity to see something where I'm able to apologize for, or call him out, or say, you know what? You might be mad at me for all this, but I have stuff against you too, and we talk about it. And for
Ah,
instance, when I was 15, his wife kicked me out of the house, and that's when I went into drug dealing hardcore with the cartel, because I was
okay.
homeless. I had no
Right,
other option except sell drugs or be homeless. And I
right.
went, I went with my family that sold drugs, and I, for a lot of years, I hated him because he allowed his wife to kick me out of the house, right? But now that I've grown up and I've become a father and I've become a husband, I've looked at that situation and I've been able to go back. And even though he didn't know I hated him for that,
Of course.
I sat him down and I said, brother, I hated you for a long time since I was 15. And I've never been able to fully let it go. But now that I've become a man, now that I know what it is to be a dad, to be a
Hmm.
father, to be a husband, I apologize for hating you for so long, for having this hate, for thinking that it was your fault that all this happened to me when it wasn't. And as a husband and as a father, you were doing the best for your family. And now I see that. So that bridge is it's built right now, and it's still rocks back and forth. He does call me out on a lot. We've had our We've had our serious fights. You know, my mom had Alzheimer's, and when I went to prison, I left my son with her, and my family, my brother, my sisters, they all blame me for my mom having Alzheimer's because
Mm.
because of my son. My son was abused when I got him at 2 years old. His teeth were rotten. He had bruises on his back, lashes. He didn't know how to talk. He would bang his head on the floor. He would scream for 8 or 9 hours from all the abuse he had been through. And then
Mm.
I went to prison and left him to my mother. So my whole family, that bridge was lit on fire, and they said, "That's it, we're done with you. We can't believe you did this." But since I've been out, all of those bridges have been. Some of them are completely rebuilt. Some of those are halfway there. But the important thing is, though, is I couldn't just tell them I was sorry. Is everyone wanted to taste the pudding, not just see that I was making pudding. They wanted to
Hmm.
taste it. So
Hmm.
now that the pudding is being made, you know, I have the organization that started. They're seeing that I'm different. I don't react to things the way I do. I don't take I don't make the decisions in life situations, knee jerk reactions anymore. Everything is well thought out, you know, knowledge,
Oh,
wisdom. You know,
yes.
before this situation with this kid, I would have just been, oh, come home, come in here, we'll take care of you, not thinking of any repercussions for my family, my wife. So, you know, part of rebuilding bridges always has to be with us bringing in fresh lumber, and
Right.
to have fresh lumber, you have to produce good trees, right? So part of that is planting your trees, allowing them to grow, and then bringing fresh lumber for you and those people to build fresh bridges together again, and truly asking for forgiveness, and rebuilding on those things that caused the bridge to burn.
Right, right. It comes back to our second topic of the part of why you did this. It's all about having self-preservation, right?
Yes.
Self-preservation so that you don't go down that dark road. Just it's like for many of our viewers or many of my friends or many of your viewers that don't really understand, and even like for parents just coming out going, because I can admit I abandoned one daughter. I pretty much abandoned two daughters. My second daughter, I have not even ever met because I abandoned her because I was all jacked up and doped up and everything else. But part of self preservation and changing this situation around. Let me ask you this other question, right? How has your living on the streets be able to propel your self-preservation, your emotions, your personal aspects when dealing with your son that was addicted on meth and everything else?
You know, the streets the streets tailored me to be blunt, to be truthful, and to always say what I mean, and
Right,
to always mean what I say. So
right.
it helped me deal with this situation and the other situations where I try to help people, and the fact that I can speak in truth, and no matter what they say to me, it's not going to hurt my feelings. You
Hmm.
know, because I've been in their situation, and I know that when things come out of my mouth during those times, it's the things that are in my heart, which are dark. They're not of me, right?
Right.
So dealing with my son, with my stepson, and just being able to be upfront, and and to have those street values that I've had.
Right.
And one other thing that the streets taught me was you can't BS a BSer.
Right.
And yeah, and this kid came in thinking I'm gonna BS him, and I'm like, I'm the biggest BSer there ever was, dude.
Yeah.
So the streets obviously has taught me to see fake for fake and real for real. And one thing I did tell this kid was, young man, you just yesterday you're crying for your grandma and your mommy, and here you are trying to act like an adult today, smoking a cigarette.
That
I
is
said,
deep. Yeah.
I said, which one is it? You want to be treated like a child or an adult? And that's the problem with a lot of these kids these days is they want to be children in certain things, and then in other areas they want to be adults.
Right.
And then when
Right.
you start treating them as an adult all the time, then we forget that they're children because
Right.
they're acting like adults all the time. So the one thing I did tell this young man was, look, if you're gonna act like a child, just yesterday, I was treating you like a child. I was here for you. I was trying to encourage you to do the rehab, trying to convince you not to go home, trying to speak into you and guide you. But today you want to act like a grown man, steal one of my cigarettes, go outside and smoke. So today I'm going to address you as a grown man. And that's exactly what I did. But at the end of it, I brought it all back and I said, now Tristan, if you were to just take a stance and say, I'm a child, treat me like one, people would. And part of being a child is allowing yourself to be guided, allowing yourself to be corrected, and allowing these people that love you to do what's right for you. You know, and a lot of the times we forget to tell these kids that the people that are there on your tail, the people that are there giving up their time, the most valuable thing that anyone has on this earth is time, and they're giving it to you. And what you're doing with it is throwing it in the trash. Those are the people that love you. But when you're in the streets, you don't understand love. You think,
Yeah.
oh, they're correcting me, they're being mean because they're not letting me do me.
Right.
No.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I did bring that back home with him in the sense of, if you're gonna act like an adult, and this is what I did tell him, you're gonna be an adult, you need to start acting like one today and get up off your butt and do something. I said, but if you're gonna be a child like you were yesterday, crying for your mommy, crying for your Grammy, I said, then that's okay too. But you have to be a child and allow us to treat you like one fully, and not be teeter-tottering. One day you want to be an adult, drinking a beer, smoking cigarettes, and then the next day, oh, my mommy, I can't do rehab because I missed my Grammy. Nah, man. And this is the truth. This is the real talks that we got to have with these kids. Just call them out on their BS, man.
I do it all the time. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
it all the time. Because even like the same situation, this is why this is so important to me that we talk about this, because since Julian went through the same thing, I'm going through the same thing with my nieces, right? They kind of pick and choose. Now, is it our fault, society's fault, the parents' fault for giving them too much leeway? Absolutely. I for one had too much freedom, too smart, too much freedom, right?
Yeah.
Made my own path because I wanted to be an adult before my ages, right? Now,
Yes.
knowing certain things that you know now, that you have all this wisdom, you have all this street knowledge. I do the exact same thing with my nieces and the children I talk at Real Talk. Is when we say child, guys, it's just youth, right?
Yeah.
Because you're there to, as the parent, especially for us with these type of street knowledge experiences and actually live through it. It's gonna be something that can be beneficial to other youth, even their parents. Because sometimes when I talk to the parents, right, they're at their wits end, but
Yes.
they don't know where to treat their child as an adult because they can. But at the same time, it's a delicate balance. And that's why we built Real Talk for parents, youth, people that need some help, that need some extra oomph into something else. Let me ask this. Let me ask you this. Another question. Where do you see parents being guardian, grandparents, where do you see them going wrong from your experiences?
Oh man, from my personal experience,
Right.
from 2 years ago, before those 2 years ago, I thought I was a good parent. I worked, I provided, I took my son on many trips. We went to every Dallas Cowboy home game. We we did Universal Studios. We did Disney World. We did all these things, and I thought I was a good dad. And I never called my son. Before 2 years ago, I used
Oh
to call
yeah.
him, yeah, Juju. I had no love for him as a father to a son. He was a burden to me.
Mm.
I was a single father for 7 years. Um, so it it changed me. When I changed, I realized what a good father was and what I wasn't leading up to this, and that I was anything but a good father leading up to this. Yes, I provided. Yes, I fed him. Yes, I clothed him, and that's where it stopped. I never hugged
Mm.
him, never told him I loved him. I never stood up for him at school. He would come home. We lived in Tulsa. I worked as a single father, traveling the country. So we were in Tulsa, and he'd come home. They calling me little brown boy at school, picking on me, beating me up in the bathrooms. And I would tell him, you're just a little B word. Fight back. Quit being a little P word. And then now that I'm different and I know what I'm supposed to do now, man, I know where I went wrong, which is no discipline, no love, most
Mm.
importantly. And discipline is included in love.
Right.
Don't misconstrue that. We think of love as this everything's perfect, everything's, oh, we're so patient, oh, we're so loving, oh, we're so kind. Yes, love is all of that. Love also is, though, discipline, structure,
Yeah.
reinforcement, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement.
Yes.
That
Yes.
all of that is love, is in love, is discipline, everything that you're supposed to do as a parent. And I wasn't doing those things. So where I feel with the short time that we've had Real Talk open here is a lot of these parents want to be friends with their kids. And that ain't our job. Our job is to be parents. Our job isn't to snowplow the street for them so that they don't have any obstacles in their way. Our job is to guide them through those obstacles.
Right.
Our job isn't to get the snowplow and take off every speed bump ahead in the road. No, 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 no. Learn to go over that speed bump. I will be right here and I will show you how to get over it. So I believe that's where a lot of parents have gone wrong is they've gone soft. We're scared to call our kids out. We're scared to have confrontation with our kids. We're scared to correct our kids. And then we're scared for our kids to run into any problems. And what do? We take on those problems ourselves. And then our kids never develop those skills on how to
Yeah.
get away from this issue and how
Yeah.
to how to analyze this and what's happening here. And it becomes overwhelming for them because they've never dealt with it. And then they become these adults that are just closed off from the world. um it's a sad thing. It's a very sad thing.
Let me ask you this: since we're going on a personal account of that, give me a. Is there a situation you just went through that, knowing that you're a change man, you're holding on to your second, third, fourth, some, in fact, you might be holding on to your 10th chance, right? How have you changed, and what recommendations could you give to somebody listening to this in the future?
Man, I go through situations daily,
Ah,
coming from prison and coming from the environment that we come from, Gordon. That um, our triggers, our reactions are a lot different than people who have never experienced that. And so for me, I can't count to 10 and be calm. I'll give you an example. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we live in a house that has an apartment next door. And
oh.
the apartment next door,
Oh,
we pay the bills and then they reimburse us. And I called and asked him for it, and he said something sideways.
no.
Granted, to anybody else, it doesn't sound sideways.
Right.
Like I
Yes.
said, I'm not everyone else. I'm 5150. I mean, in prison, you call me the B word, you're getting stabbed. You say punk, you're getting stabbed, right?
Right.
So he texts back something, and I start shaking, and I'm about to black out. And I tell my wife, "You need to deal with this." And she sees me, and I'm shaking, and I'm about to. So I came to the room. I came into some prayer, and then I just thought about and reflected about all my times in prison, about what it's like being in there, and it calmed me. It calmed me back down. And then I remembered, my 7 years in solitary, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want that. I don't want that anymore. But it's hard. It is hard. It is hard, Gordon, to come out and deal with people's attitudes and deal with the way people treat you. As a blind person, when I go out with my cane, I hear what people say. I feel the stares, and believe me, there's times where people couldn't get away with saying that to me before.
Oh no, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been humbling, and you know what I do is I just sit back and I think about what all I've gained, and what I don't want to lose, and it brings me back to a peace. But it is hard every day to not lose my cool, not want to snap,
Right.
and bring back the old Julian that I don't want to see anymore, and I'm sure nobody else does. Yeah, it's ugly, man.
It's so funny. Yeah,
When I feel
I
that
know.
anger boiling up, I get scared because, man,
Right.
I know the things that.
Those of you that don't understand what a management variable in his description, he did 7 years, I believe, in solitary confinement. That means no contact, no nothing. He's managed his thoughts in a 4x6 cell with probably a stainless steel tank that
Yes.
doesn't have nothing else, and to have changed. And this is why I applaud Mr. Julian Morales for changing his life. Granted, I call him the blind king because he is a Latin king, but it is. But to recognize the transformation as a parent, as an organized thought leader, as a community leader in his field in El Paso, Texas, and he's on the border town, guys.
Yes.
So he can throw a stone, and he's right there in
Mexico.
Mexico, right?
Juarez.
In what is
Juarez, Mexico.
Mexico?
Yeah.
So this man has been through some crap to be able to give you these second chances as a parent, as a person of the man that he's become. Is you don't get to have this type of value that he's been through, because, like you said, it takes a lot of a person, especially when you have a person with, I would say, same thing myself, with that type of anger that has been pent up for all these years. Like I tell my nieces, I have 1,065 hours of anger management,
Mhm.
and she goes, "Oh, but are you worse than uncle?" I said, "You don't want to find that out, because it's you became, and it's like part of the program is holding on dearly to second chances, and every now and then that old Julian comes out, that
Yeah.
old that old that old enforcer that used to be there." Let me ask you this, on another one, another question. I had a bunch of questions, but you mean it's like, as a parent that's has these second chances, how does it feel to be able to know that you're controlling your emotions, controlling the best that you can with your children, your time, with the life that you've built?
Man, it brings me peace, Gordon. It really does.
Ah,
I sit back and I reflect on the fights that I used to have with my son, the arguments we used to get into over the dumbest things. I would get mad. Um, I'll be completely honest and completely blunt. There was times where I would smash his McDonald's hamburgers and like throw them against the wall. And one time we were at a restaurant, and I have my blind cane. It's 6 feet tall. It's a big white cane, and he pissed me off, and I jabbed him in the ribs with it. And it's those things that I am so thankful that I was able to change.
Mm.
And most importantly, you know, that not all credit is to me. Most importantly, is to God. But you know, for my son to be able to forgive me,
Oh,
I'm real thankful that he's young, is young enough still, and old enough. He's young enough and old enough to understand that things can change, and that I was a POS, and that I'm totally different now. And for him to be able to see that, and Gordon and viewers, before all of this happened, my son was going down the same road I was. Lazy, not doing schoolwork, not involved in any sports, nothing. The minute I changed, the minute he saw me change and felt me change, and he changed on his own, you guys. He's straight A on a roll. He just
wow.
he just made captain of the drill team for ROTC.
Wow.
Yeah, all within 2 months of me changing.
Wow.
School started, and then he changed on his own. And
Wow.
it's all because examples. And I didn't real, you know, I saw a
Yeah.
meme. I saw a meme yesterday that said a father tells his son, "Watch where you step," and the son says, "No, you watch where you step, because I'm stepping right behind you." So,
That's deep.
so man, I didn't realize what path I was leading my son down, and everything he saw, everything he heard, all my interactions, my scheming, the way he would see me manipulate things. You know, and now I'm breaking those things out of him. Just the other day, um, I asked him to do something, right? And he said he would do it. But then right before, he said, "Hey, Dad, but Saturday, can I go do something, blah, blah?" I said, "You're trying to manipulate this situation because
Ah, you caught him.
yeah." I said, "I'm going to call you out on your BS." I said, "That's ugly. Don't be that way." I
Right,
said, "That's
right.
very ugly. And you learned that from me. And I'm sorry." So I
Ah,
think that's the hardest thing. And I've said this over and over.
yeah.
Is once you change and you've had your children and you change, the hardest thing after you change is taking you out of them. Taking the old person you just got rid of in you,
Right.
that person is inside your children because they've been watching, hearing, listening, and following you. And now you changed. And guess what? Now you got to take your old self out of your kids. And that's if your kids follow your footsteps, right?
Right.
That was my situation where now I see every bit of the old me in my son sometimes. And I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. You can't be that way. Because that's how I was.
No.
And
Yeah.
I always tell my son, don't be like your dad. Always be better than me. Always. Everything you hate about me, be better. And everything you love about me, hold on to that and add your better to that, because you can always be better than me. I said, you have your whole life ahead of you.
Right, right, right.
I've done all these things. I've been a POS. You know, like I tell the kids, I was Humpty Dumpty that fell off the wall. You're Humpty Dumpty on the wall right now,
Still.
and you're teeter-tottery. And that egg is still salvaged. You can still save it. Don't be like me that fell. And now I'm put together and I have gorilla duct tape all
You got
around.
everything on there.
Yeah. But these kids right now are still whole, man. They have
Right,
cracks. They have fissures.
right,
They haven't fallen off yet.
right,
And we have to be there to catch them, to not allow them to fall, so that nobody has to be putting them back together as adults.
right,
You know, that way they're whole. They go
right.
into adulthood with a great understanding. They become great parents, which in turn, they raise great children, which in turn makes for a better society.
Right.
And that is social justice.
That's I never did think of it that way, that you gotta take the old personality. Even when people see me now, I've been told that, Gordon, you're the happiest. They can see it in my eyes on my posts
Amen.
because of my son and everything. Because I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've been, I've already had the money. I've already had the businesses. I already know
Wait.
how,
So
like,
I have a
right?
question for you,
Sure, go
Gordon.
ahead.
Since you brought this up, I'm going to ask.
But
You have a beautiful baby boy. You've missed out like you said, on other opportunities with your
Right.
girls, what what are you taking from what you didn't do with your girls? And I see the time you spend with your kid and the love you have for him and the interaction. Is that where that comes from? Is the fact that you missed out on that? And it's not that you're trying to make up, because we can never make up.
It's
Are you
for
just trying to make things better?
for me, it's all about holding on to that second chance, having that true redemption that I lost. So I did everything wrong on the left
Yeah.
side, basically. So why not try do everything right to the right side and use my experiences? Like even when my wife talks to me about it, it's like, she goes, how come this person, you helping this person make some money, helping this person do this? I said, but there's a cost, right? You won't be able to see me in the mornings, or you won't, and waking up with and the first thing he does is smile at me, or he looks for me, right? So it's like I missed all of that. And this is why I don't go full blown into business right now, because I have my priorities straight. And just, it's actually holding on to the things I missed. I mean, I missed completely, right? Everything else. So those was one of those things that I wanted to cherish. And if I was to say something was to happen to me, at least I know in my heart, in my soul, that I've reached that pinnacle where I know the difference, right? So that's
Yeah.
why you see me in the way, the small things, the small, like you said, the small things is the one that counts, right?
That's the
And
important
the
things.
small things is the one that you take for granted, even no matter when, time, or what. It doesn't matter, because this way you can cherish those moments, especially for you, me, when we used to sit in a cell. You only dream about the stuff we are living now. It doesn't come with
Yes.
money. It doesn't come with the cars. It doesn't come with the bank full of. It doesn't come with a safe full of money. And you know what? When I talked to a personal coach that was on the show a few weeks ago, when when you're in tune with everything, with purpose and fulfillment and being aligned with what's going on, shit, nothing matters, right?
Nothing.
Nothing matters. And to get to that point, it took, how many years did it take for you?
36 years to be free.
It took me half my life, right? Half my life, most of it being in and out of prison, jacked up on dope,
Yeah.
doing stupid things. And it's like, when even like for my job right now, it's like I deal with knuckleheads, not clients, but guests, this and that, and they come out sideways. But I'm like,
Yeah.
they don't want they don't want to know. But some of them I give it to them raw, and they kind of respect me for that, depending
Yeah.
on who it is. But yeah, I mean, that's just, you wanted to know. I give you the real hard truth. It's more of holding on to that. For me, it might be my 10th chance, because we're
Yeah.
not supposed to be here anyway, like we keep saying, and we're making
Yeah.
the best of it, and at the same time changing other people's lives for the better, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
let me ask you this: any closing remarks before we end? How we can reach you if they're in the El Paso, Texas area? What you stand for? Isn't any closing remarks before we end this out?
Yeah, so just really quick, I'll plug in my show. It's going to be on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We will be talking on Real Talk, Real Topics.
Yep.
I'm going to have Marvin Reynolds on. We're going to be sharing our conversations with our kids during these trying times.
Oh,
Now, we both are from different walks of life. I am Hispanic, a felon, been in prison, gang member. He is an African American male who has never been incarcerated. He has like 6 or 7 kids. He's a good father, never been in trouble. And we're just going to share our insight, and they are just that, opinions and insight on
beautiful.
the kind of conversations we're having with our kids and what we're bringing to our dinner table with our children. And then another thing I want to leave everybody with is, just love your kids, you guys. Love your kids. We go out to these schools, we go out to these meetings, and these children's these children need their fathers. You know,
Yeah.
I've had one-on-ones many of times with these young boys that come sit next to me, and the minute I say, is your dad in your life? They break down crying
Okay,
because all they
nice.
want is their dad. And you guys, if you're a dad, if you're a father, and and you have kids, reach out, love them, and hold them, cherish them, and hug them at night. If you live with your kids, hug them every night. Let them know you love them, discipline them, and always be real with your kids. You guys, always be real, because there's enough fakeness out in the world.
Right,
There's enough
right,
fakeness on their phone, through
right.
Instagram, through Facebook. Teach them what's real. Be real. Be the one real thing in their life.
How can they reach you on any of the platforms in case they're in your
Oh
area?
yeah, so you guys can go to Real Talk EP on YouTube, or Real Talk Youth Impact Program EP, like El Paso. You can go to Facebook at Real Talk EP. You can find us on Instagram, real_talk_EP, and on Twitter at Real Talk EP as well. And we are doing our live streams simultaneously, just like Gordon is, on YouTube and on Facebook. And like I
Yeah,
said, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Find us. You can reach out to Real Talk at realtalkep.org. If anyone wants to be on the show, if you want to just converse, you have an opinion, you want something to share, reach out to myself or to Gordon. You can reach me at info@realtalkep.org, and we'll get you on my show or Gordon's show. And,
it
and
doesn't matter. Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't matter if you have a story to tell, a story of redemption,
exactly.
story of change.
Yes.
You've been through hell, and the devil didn't know you were there because you got out so fast. Give us a call. Give us a call. We want to hear the story.
All right, guys. Welcome. I mean, not welcome. Thank you, Julian, my co-host. You now we're getting back to the swing of things. Everything is
Yes.
off. If you got a story to share, guys, if please reach out to me, Julian. You can reach me on IG at Gordon_G_Watt, or find me on Facebook. And I want to hear your redemption story. If you're watching this on the live, please leave a comment. If you're going to be watching this on the replay, please leave a comment, message me. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the likes, the thumbs up, the thumbs down, subscribe, like,
Yes.
comment,
Hold
figure
on.
it
We gotta
out.
do the YouTube thing. Don't
Yeah.
forget. Don't forget to comment, rate, and share, and
Share.
hit that subscribe
If
button.
you're listening to this on the podcast, please reach out, guys. If because a lot of times your story might be the one that changes somebody else's life, and this is what me and Julian and the rest of the my Real Talk members, even the ones I bring on the show, we all have stories to tell. I want to share them with the world so that people can change their lives with better. All right, Mr. Julian Morales, always a pleasure. We'll be
Gordon,
doing these
thank you.
more often with the real topics, right?
Yes, sir.
And then
And
we'll figure out how we can get more of these in your hands. You have a good
yes,
day, brother.
thank you,
And I'll see you
Gordon.
next week. I might have another guest next week that's launching her book, depending. But, everybody has a story. Everybody wants to share. Everybody wants to have a voice to be heard. I want to provide that for you guys, especially if you overcame some sort of adversity. All right. You guys
Yes.
have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you,
Hope you
Gordon. Be
guys enjoyed
blessed.
the